Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Success, and I'll be moderating today's session. So today we are going to start with the first session for the conducting for the NGO CBO, and that is conducting a needs assessment. So please note that this session would kick off the syllabus for this focus area. And at the end of the day, we are going to hear from our presenter who would be speaking on this topic. So in the meantime, let me take some time to do some housekeeping. Please feel free to use the chat. There's also a Q&A option. Feel free to use it as well to ask your questions. Our presenter is, wanting to get maximum engagement from us. And please indicate if you did see the exercise that I shared in the WhatsApp group and if you were able to go through. Please, I would like to know if everyone or how many people were able to go through. You can indicate that in the chat. That exercise would make it easier for the session to go on. So if you did go through that exercise, please feel free to indicate that in the chat. Also, I just want to appreciate you all for the patience in allowing us move this session by 30 minutes because our presenter was occupied at that time. Thank you so much for your patience and your flexibility with that. Thank you, Suzanne, for going through the file. As a reminder, the online academy will take place for 8 weeks, but we'll call it 9 weeks because of the pitch presentation week. So this is week 1. Week 2 will be happening next week. And usually it is 1 session a week, but for week 2, we have 2 sessions. So next week we'll be meeting on 2 occasions, one on Monday and the next one on Friday for this focus. So please take note of that. The roster has been shared. I will still reshare it so that we don't miss out on that information. So please use the chat and the Q&A as we begin. I would be introducing our presenter right away. Thank you all so much for engaging in the chat. Really appreciate you. So our presenter for today is Tiwonge Mbaleziambo. Tiwonge is an accomplished adult educator, a consultant, and strategic leader specializing in customer service and human capital development, academia, and social research that spans over 15 years. At corporate level, 3 significant traits stand out. She has acquired great experience and best practices in customer service delivery, which cuts across call center and face-to-face customer service management. She has designed and implemented orientation programs, customized training for customer service staff in customer experience, supervisory skills, leadership, and managerial skills. Most recently, she has developed training modules in customer service for engineers, medical staff, accountants, shopkeepers, economists, to mention a few. Secondly, as a performance management consultant, Tiwonge's work experience and exemplary record in strategic planning and implementation of performance measurement and management systems has aided her acquire the necessary skills in performance management training. Tiwonge has had opportunities to address summits and conferences and has been among keynote speakers at several Chartered Institute of Customer Management in Zambia, Cavendish University, and Zambia Institute of Human Resource Convention. In academia, she has served as a tutor, part-time lecturer, external examiner, and academic consultant. In addition, she offers academic mentorships for MBA students for both local and international students. She's passionate about learner support and how to develop students. As a social entrepreneur, she's a certified international career coach and a co-founder of Velcro Corporate and Lifestyle Solutions that offers management consultancy and entrepreneurship mentorships. She's also a co-founder of Wisteria Learning Profession, which offers professional mentorship to both working professionals or small and medium business proprietors and corporate entities. It's such a pleasure to have Tiwonge with us today. Thank you so much, Tiwonge, for joining us today. And we'll be sharing the screen from this end. So if you would want us to move the screen, please let us know. Thank you very much. I would be muting and handing over the presentation to you now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Success. Please do confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. For a little while, I kept thinking, is that me that is being introduced? Success, thank you so much. I'm most humbled. Is it okay if you can give me the right to share my screen? Is that okay as well?
Yes, you do have that okay. Ability, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I can see it. Let me just share. Okay, let me share now. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, and thank you so much for the time and just allocated. Please, if you can hear me in the chat box, I think you will find our session interactive. Just a check-in with Success. What time, how much time do I have from now?
Okay, we can look at the next 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next 30 minutes from now.
Yeah, before question and answers.
All right, thank you so much. So please give me a signal when I'm remaining with 10 minutes. You can just alert me even as I start. So I'd like to firstly take this opportunity to just thank to thank everyone for showing up. I always say that the most important part is that the fact that all of us here have showed up, it's already success in itself. And I always say the best person that can appreciate you is actually yourself for showing up. So please, can I see some clapping emojis for yourself? Send some love to yourself, cheer on yourself. The fact that you are here today, you are here attending, and the fact that you managed to log in on time. Please, can I see some emojis? Share some emojis even as we just start. The next thing I want is just to thank the World's Mountain Initiative for this opportunity to share. I do not take it for granted. This is the second opportunity I'm having to share with all of you. So what I'll ask from all of you, I'm sure those of you that had attended the last session I did, is that I like to feel a bit of the audience that and the people that have logged in. So what you can do for me right now, please type in the chat box your name, just your first name is enough, and the country where you're logging in from. And if you're a student, what year are you in? If you have already graduated, you can indicate graduated. So if you're still a student, you put the year of study. If you are graduated, you put you've graduated, and just your country or location where you are hearing us from. And I'll really, really appreciate if I can have that information. Thank you so much for all the love that you're sharing within the chat box. I'll have a look at them as well. So I'm looking at conducting a needs assessment. So this is conducting a needs assessment for community-based organization and non-governmental organization. Needs assessment, I remember the first time I got to learn about needs assessment was, I think, when I was in my second year of study. I did adult education. And one of the things was to ensure that you have a needs-based approach as to what you're doing and how you are managing project. So you need to do every training, whether you're doing training, whether you're doing an impact assessment, you need to make sure that you have done a proper needs assessment. You have collected enough data that is speaking to what you are about to do. So this is what we'll do today. So we'll look at the definition and purpose of the topic. We'll look at why needs assessment matters. Why is it important? We'll look at community organization and capacity. Community organization and capacity needs. We'll look at stepping into conducting a needs assessment, communicating the findings and the next steps, and we'll look at a real-world experience. I'm not sure, Success, did you manage to share the slides for the activity with the team? So that would be the very last thing that we'll do much later.
Yes,
okay.
please, I did.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate. Okay, so first things first, of course, you did hear about Wisteria Learning and where I'm coming from. So I will purposively skip everything else and just talk about one thing from here, that the organization that I'm representing today as I'm speaking to you is an organization that was born out of a need. And one of the things that we noticed was that within different locations and within different professionals, people were leaving a gap. There was an identified gap of how people were moving towards attaining their self-actualization. So one person can go to school, they get all the degrees, they get all the papers that they want, but are they living a fulfilled life? So our organization that we are running was birthed out of a need of how do we bridge the gap and how do we help this professional get to where they want to be? And this is why, for me, even when I saw this topic, this is a topic that really resonated very well with me. So first things first. Definition and purpose. So the first thing that we always have to bear in mind is that a needs assessment is just a systematic way of evaluating the gap between what is and what ought to be. So the definition is there, but I want to give you a more contextual background. So there is something that you have, but there's something that you're wanting which you don't have. So there's that space in between, and that is the need, that is the gap that you need to address. So when there's that gap, it conversely tells you there's a need that needs to be filled for you to fulfill that. So one of the critical things, even as you look at a needs assessment, is that one, it should be systematically done. Because if it's just done haphazardly, you will not be very focused to get to what you really want. So needs assessment should be systematically done because it will help you identify and evaluate the needs that you need. So even at a personal level, what is your current need? At community level, you find out what is it that the community has and what doesn't it have. So once you evaluate and you check in, you'll be able to know that this is what is lacking. The second way of understanding needs identification is through stakeholder engagement. So engaging stakeholders ensures that programs reflect the real needs and foster collaboration. So if, for instance, you're working with a community-based organization, the only way that you will know, you cannot go and sit and read document. This is why, of course, in research, we have document review and we have the actual research that is carried out. So you might want to go and do you might want to use a methodology like hermeneutic phenomenology, where you want to hear what are people saying, what are the intricate details of what people have gone through, you know. So you want to engage the people, you want to hear their voice, you want to hear what is it that they want. So you will not know if you don't have the conversations, because you might build things or you might come up with a project or which just becomes a white elephant. I remember years ago, I was told of a project where it was in a rural setup in a village in Zambia. And when the people from the community development went there, they thought people needed toilets, you know. And of course, they really needed toilets. But the problem is that they needed flushable toilets. But you know the issue is that in a village setup, the water reticulation is very different from a town setup. So you take certain amenities, they will not be accepted because they don't have need for them. So those were built, they were beautiful, they were commissioned, but what happened? They ended up being white elephants. And what is a white elephant? Something that is beautiful that people just look at and say, oh, wow, the people from town came and they did this, you know, so you don't want that. And then you have the third one, like I said, sometimes you need the data. So driven decision making. So you analyze the gathered information. Remember, most of what we are doing in adult education, we say what is, has always been, and will always be, because it can be reshaped, you know. So you are not starting from a point of not knowing. There are certain people that came before you that had certain information that must have helped. So people have recorded this, people did studies. So you need to look at what information is sitting there that can support your idea. What information is there that can help you to drive this process? And then, of course, the last one is purpose and impact. So the goal for needs assessment is to improve effectiveness and address pressing issues for the target population. So all of us here, if I do a quick check Stephen is a graduate scholar. I have Patrick awaiting graduation. I have, who else am I seeing? A Supat, who is a graduate scholar, Naomi, who is a fourth-year student. So all of you have different backgrounds. And most of you, those of you that have graduated, you've already done your research. And one of the things that was prominent in your research was, what was your research gap? And if you notice that even when you were presenting your defense, the most important thing they kept asking you is, what are you researching on? What gap are you addressing? And that gap showed the need for you to go in the field to collect your data. You know, so if you're following me and this is making sense, please just say, I'm with you, I'm with you, I'm with you. Those of you that can be smart enough to tell us who are waiting graduation, if you did your study, tell us what was your research gap. You can quickly type it in a word or two. Otherwise, please just let me know if you are following and we are together. Great. So thank you so much. So secondly, we'll move to, why do we need to do a needs assessment and why does it matter anyway? So needs assessment helps organization identify the specific challenge. Remember, you want to make sure that even when you come up with a concept note of something, for instance, if you're doing business, you find that if you go to the market, let's say in Nigeria, you go to the wool market where they sell materials and they sell woolen things, you are going to notice a certain pattern where everyone is selling a certain type of material, you know, but you're going to notice, you'll find that maybe there'll be one store where everyone says, if you go to that store, you will find what you're looking for. So you'll notice that almost everyone else will have a similar kind of thing, but there'll be one who will be unique. Why? Because that person has identified the specific challenge to say, this type of material is not easily found and I'm the only one that has it. So everybody else is going to start buying from that person, you see. But as soon as others know, they'll copy in. So this is why even when you're talking about needs assessment, please always be thinking of, I found this, what else more can we find? Don't just stick to that to say, oh yeah, I found this. You know how sometimes you get like a pen, you know, this is a beautiful phone, it has a beautiful cover. Beyond having this beautiful phone and a beautiful cover, the day that it wears out, you should be thinking, what next? You know, do I need another cover because this one doesn't hold? At one point it used to hold. So that's the same with needs assessment. When you do the assessment today, and you start moving towards it and you start achieving the goals, you need to look at the process again and say, what interventions can we now come up with that will help to get to where we are? And this is what leads us to the next point, which is avoiding duplication. So identifying gaps in services and resources prevents duplication of efforts and maximizes organizational impact. So when you are always looking out to say, we have achieved this, this is what we are doing, this is where we are going, you'll be able to track your record and you'll not be able to keep doing the same thing over and over again, because remember, you're using resources. Resources are going to be dedicated to the needs that you'll be addressing. So you want to make sure that you are avoiding duplication so that you maximize on the impact that you're trying to make in a particular community. And then number 3 is supporting funding proposals. So evidence-based needs assessment strengthen funding proposals by providing solid justification for projects. When you have done a proper needs assessment, you've gone in the field, you've had the conversation with the stakeholders, they've told you this is the gap, this is what we need, you'll be able to now look at how best you can get to their level and address that need. So even when you write for justification, let's say, for instance, in this case, we are looking for funding, oh, I'm loving this. I'm seeing the graduates research gap. I looked at, this is Michael. Michael says, we are with you. Research gap I looked at was the level of knowledge in utilization of newly implemented electronic health records in health institutions in JAWS. The other one, Ogamba says the knowledge gap and also perception towards human papilloma virus vaccine in a tertiary hospital. And this is very good. This is why I say, when it comes to research, if you're still a student, whatever you do, please do not let people write your assignment for you. Do not pay people to do your research. Do the research yourself, such that even years later, I looked at my master's level, I graduated in 2015. I looked at customer perceptions regarding information dissemination strategies for those that were living in densely populated areas. And I needed to look at, I did a perception study. So I was getting information. Even today, if they told me, Tionge, can you present your study? I can do that seamlessly because I did the study. So well done. Please, let's just clap for our friends who have actually shared the research problem without not having gone back to look at their papers, but they can remember from memory because they are the ones who identified the need, they identified the gap, and they made sure that that was done. So well done, team. Well done to you guys, and we applaud you today. So that's what happens. So even when you are doing a proposal for funding, the funders will be able to tell the authenticity through the language that you're using and how you're presenting your data. Of course, now the argument can be there's AI, which can perfect, but trust you me, there are things that the human hand and the human mind gets to that even AI can't. And even that's how, even as lecturers, we're able to tell that this is AI generated fully, and this is AI, but with a person in it. So you need to make sure that even when you do proposals for your businesses, for those of you that are going to go full-time into managing your businesses, ensure that it's evidence-based needs assessment and you provide solid justification. Why should your business be funded? What need did you identify and how is it going to be addressed? And then lastly, the importance of why needs assessment matters is that it's fostering community ownership. So if, for instance, it's a community-based organization, and let's say you are looking at mentorship of young girls between the ages of 10 and 15 years old, the mothers need to agree, because can they trust you with their child? If you are a young lady and you say you are doing advocacy for people to have proper sanitation, for people to know how to keep themselves, how to take care of themselves, have the people in that community accepted that you're going to be sitting with these young ladies and teaching them the life skills, you'll be teaching them psychomotor skills, you'll be teaching them soft skills. Is there buy-in? So engaging stakeholders in identifying the needs builds community ownership and commitment to initiatives. So for instance, when you tell them, what things would you like me to look at? And someone says, I have a challenge. My daughter seems to be struggling with how she's cooking. So already that's a need that when you're looking at your content development, you will put in that program something to do with cooking. You will call maybe one of the professionals who's maybe a baker that can help and do these things with you. Tim, I know I have said so much so far, but if you're with me, can I hear you in the chat box? Just say you're following, that you're here, and that you're glued, and we are together. Can I hear you in the inbox? Okay, thanks, Precious. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Ahmad. Thanks, Stephen. And I see you. We're moving together. Thanks, Biko. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So community organization and capacity needs. What are these? Community, organizational, and capacity needs. What are these? So we'll start with one, community needs. So community needs address the challenges affecting a group of people. Remember, a community, I think even from my primary, a community is a group of people living and working together. If you remember that definition, I don't know, but I remember from my memory. So community needs addresses challenges affecting a group of people living within one location. So like I've said here, living within a specific geographical, demographic, and even can be a healthcare or even an educational group. So a community can even be, for those of you that are on campus, if you have a community of people that are studying electrical engineering, that are studying radiography, that's a community of radiography students, that's a community of business administration students. Then we have organizational needs. So organizational needs focus on internal operations, including staffing, infrastructure, and governance within NGOs and community-based organizations. So now these ones are different because it's not just a group of people, but remember, an organization is a well-structured institution. From my organization and management lectures that I would have, and I would talk about organization as these being well-structured. These are structures that have formal processes and that people follow, and of course have human capital, human resource as their main focal point to help drive the processes within that organization. So these are the structures within an organization, but there will be needs that will come from there, because even as people are working, what are the gaps that they're identifying and how are they addressing them? Then you have capacity needs. Capacity needs involve skills, knowledge, and resources. So in this case, most of us here are looking at capacity needs. Why are we doing this course? Why are we doing this program? Because you identified the need. You saw that you need you have a skills gap, and you need to know and understand. So the courses that you're doing are skills-based, and they'll give you knowledge, because you're not going to only have me, but you have other members that will come and teach, or maybe you've even had other people from different professionals that have actually come to teach and to share with you. Okay, so those are the different type of needs. So steps in conducting a needs assessment. So one, you need to plan and execute. Planning and execution is very, very important. If you just plan and do not execute, nothing, you don't actually achieve anything, because it's one thing to plan, but if you just plan and you say, you know what, that's a very good plan, but no one went to collect the data. So you need, after you plan for execution plan, you collect the data. So data collection, how are you going to collect the data? Number 3, stakeholder engagement. And I think if you noticed, I said, especially community-based programs, you need, even for you as a person that is building a business, you need to find out what are the needs of people before you venture into a business. Otherwise, you develop a very good business plan and you have no clients. You have no need to and no impact to make, because it's not addressing what people need. And then there's analyzing and prioritizing the needs. So sometimes you have so many needs, but which one comes first? Remember, the important versus the urgent. So you begin to prioritize which one comes first. Then, of course, reporting and planning action. So we'll look at those different facets. So planning and execution. So one, when you are planning, what does this involve? It involves 4 critical stages. One, define the scope and objectives. And I'm sure most of you that are still in university are thinking, Madam T, is this not really feeling like school? No, it's not. No, it's not. These are soft skills that we are going to learn today. So number 1 is that we need to define the scope and objectives. Number 2, we need to plan data collection planning. So what are we going to use to collect that data? Number 3, data analysis and validation. And then number 4, we need to report, compile, and look at ethical practices. So establish clear goals and boundaries for the needs assessment to guide the process effectively. Number 2, when it comes to data collecting, select appropriate methods. And please remember, in the African context, we always say, think of the social cultural context of operation. If you think about everything else, the religion, the culture, think of how people like to be communicated, So there are certain cultures, if you look at the way I'm dressed, there are certain cultures that will want you to dress like this. Even when you are going to go to them and you want to collect data, you would not be wearing a spaghetti top and be loosely dressed, because maybe the religion doesn't allow. So if you know that there's a particular religion, how should you dress appropriately? So you will be covered up like me. So you can see my hands are covered, my skirt is long enough. So it's not just about thinking of you as a professional. No, everything in Africa context matters, because of our social cultural heritage. So even as you go to these teams, you have to think, how am I dressed? How am I looking? How am I going to present myself? Then, of course, you think about the formal channels. Now you're thinking of a survey, because if you're going to do a survey, meaning you're going to be handing people papers, or if you're going to do it digital, how are you going to do a digital survey? Then you have interviews. Interviews can be done online like this, or you can have a focus group discussion where you are able to see the people. So you gather the relevant information with the appropriate channel to collect the data. Then we have data analysis and validation. So after you collect the information to find out, so these are the different needs you talk to, probably you group them according to the years. The millennials, they'll tell you this is what they want. The baby boomers who are a bit elderly, they'll tell you this is what they want. And the Gen Zs, they'll also tell you what they want. So when you collect this data now, you need to analyze the collected data to identify the trends. This is where, if you're doing research, we look at generating themes. So you look at the common things that are coming out, and then you say, okay, so these responses, they belong to this part, and you put them together. These responses, and those are what we generate as themes. So those are now coming out as your identified needs. The themes in themselves become your needs, because you're able to say, a lot of people are saying they're having challenges with the way that they're transporting. Yes, they're doing farming very well. Let's say, for instance, you've gone to a farming community and you want to come up with an initiative to help them sell the products, because you've noticed that they do very good farming, and you notice that after some time, their products go bad. But then how do you help such a community? So you need to go and find out, when you pick your things, what is the storage like? So there'll be a question on storage. There'll be a question on transportation. There'll probably be a question on, do you have any suggestions? Because you want to hear from them. So as you get these responses, you will now begin to see the responses they'll be giving you. And you'll be saying, you know what? There's a need to construct a very good road network. There's a need to have available transport. So you'll be able now to now see that as what is the trend and what are the things that people are saying. And then number 4, you'll now be able to compile the report. And remember, I talked about the African social cultural context. The ethical practices also matter. When you're collecting data from individuals, for us in academia, we always say, get ethical clearance. So even for you, as you are getting information from people, you need to make sure that they're protected. Certain people don't want to be mentioned because of their status. Certain people do not want to be identified. So don't force people when you are even doing stakeholder engagements. Make sure you ask them for permission. Are you okay with me collecting this data? Is it okay with us sharing this information? So that even when you document these, they do not infringe on anyone's rights. They will not say, no, this data is very segmented. It doesn't speak to me as a woman. No, it just only speaks to men. You need to be very aware of the environment you're operating in. I will emphasize on that. So I want you quickly to type in the chat box so that you don't forget. I want all of you to type social cultural context. Social cultural context. We need not to forget that. You see, you need to respect people's social cultural context. What is their culture in that area? What is their background in that area? So please just move to your chat box or just type social cultural context. Okay. Thank you so much, Success. I've seen the heads up. So I like to spend a lot of time on planning. These other parts I might cruise through, because this is the make or break. Because if you get it wrong here, trust you me, the other processes don't even matter. You need to plan well. You need to make sure that things are done correctly at the beginning. Because if you get it wrong, trust you me, you come up with a product that no one will even want to look at. So for instance, data collection, I talked about data collection. Remember I said surveys. So surveys will give you the numbers, that's quantitative data. It will give you the numbers. It will make you know how many people did and how many people responded to this. Then you have the qualitative methods. These are your words. What are you saying? And these are the words that people are interested in. Please just give me a minute. I'll pause a bit. Okay, apologies for that. I just had to attend something urgently. So the second one was the qualitative method. I talked about interviews. Remember, interviews give you insight because you're able to hear the voices of the people. People are able to tell you what exactly they need and what exactly is lacking. And then you have the combining the both processes. So we always encourage that you do what is known as triangulation, which is the collection of data of and the numbers and also the qualitative aspect, so that you are able to make a good decision even as you look at your training needs assessment. I think I did speak through stakeholder engagement. How do you engage your stakeholders? So there are always diverse stakeholders. And again, social cultural context. You need to know that when you move in certain spheres or certain communities, what are the stratas of the leadership there? Who is the leader? Who are the partners? Who are the people that get things done? You need to identify the different stakeholders so that you don't make a mistake by stepping on anyone's toes. So you will be able to read through these notes. So I'll quickly move over this slide as well. Analyzing data, remember I did talk a bit about analyzing data. So you are going to look at trends. I spoke about generating themes, especially for qualitative data. So quantitative data, because you're going to look at similar things that people are saying, batch them together, and then you'll be able now to see the trend, and those are the needs that you would have identified. So once you identify those, you prioritize. Let's say, for instance, we gave an example of the community that has been farming, but they've noticed that their produce has been going bad because probably, one, their storage. So which one comes first? Do we prioritize the storage, or we prioritize ensuring that we have roads? So storage, we have to, because we can do something easily about storage. So let's say there's a need on how to enhance and improve the storage capabilities, because the road will take us more time. And remember, for us to get maybe a grant to build the road, it will take a lot more time. So what can we do? Improve on storage. So you begin to prioritize the needs as they come. You say, okay, this we can start with, that will help, and then we'll move to this. So even when you do a proposal to help farmers within a community, you will know what is urgent so that at least the produce doesn't go bad. So you'll be able to do a feasibility study. A feasibility study is basically what will work within the shortest possible time for us to get the best results. Then you engage the people, and also you have targeted interventions. And then, of course, at the end of the day, like I said, you do the report, you're able to give a clear action plan. You're able, if you're requesting for funding, you do a proposal that is worthwhile and that can easily be tracked and can easily be given feedback. So then, of course, communicating finding and the next steps. So once you do your proposal and you present it, what are the action points? Now you look forward to sharing the report with who is it that can support you? Who are your stakeholder collaborations? Who are the people that are going to help you to fund this? You've identified the needs, and this is the proposal that you've put across. Who is going to now listen to you and to be able to fund you and to do those things together? So I'll end here because this is where I'll switch to the other presentation. But in the next just 5 minutes, as I do that, maybe please just type if you have any question and your pickup point of what we have looked at so far. So we did look at, and I'll go back to the beginning point just to give a summary. So we looked at planning and execution, and I've said, when identifying the need, a need is a gap between what is and what ought to be. And how you get there is being able to identify it well through planning and execution. You need to make sure that you do a proper plan on how you identify that need. And then number two, you need to collect data. You need to find out what is the presenting problem? What are people saying? By doing engagements, you need to sit with the stakeholders. After you sit with the stakeholders, analyze and prioritize, and then of course you do the report and you take action. So please do share your comments. I'll stop sharing this one. Success, are you able to just give me 5 minutes to switch to the other one quickly? Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Tim, can I hear some feedback in the chat box? What is your pickup point from what we have learned so far and what has been shared with the knowledge that we have shared so far? What is that one thing that for you is ringing in your head as we looked at these slides? Can I see some feedback? Okay, so Michael says, firstly, identify the actual needs, proper planning and execution is to ensure the needs aren't inferred. Yes, important in getting this information is the consideration of stakeholders in their appropriate social cultural context. Yes, spot on, Michael. That's very true. Okay. That's very, very, very true. Okay. I learned how to associate myself with the community. Thank you, Stephen. Data-driven decision-making. Thanks, Pico. Data-driven decision-making. Thank you so much. So the next part is an exercise that I want you to take home. This is actually your take-home exercise. And one of the key things that I like about learning is that I'm sure a recording will be shared. So you will be able to probably have an opportunity to watch this again. But one thing that I want you to do is what does the practical sense of this whole needs assessment look like? And the first thing that I spoke of, so I'll be a bit slow on this one as I wind up. So number one is stakeholder mapping. I spoke about stakeholders that you need to collaborate and have conversations with them, but you need to map them first. When you go into an area, be it in a community or in an NGO, who are your key stakeholders? So you can select. So one of the exercises that I want you to do, for those of you that are still in school, probably you can pick a faculty. Pick a faculty, like let's say business, or you probably pick, if you're in engineering, pick your own faculty. Those of you that have graduated, pick a community-based program, and look at, I want you to select that. When you select, begin to categorize and find out who are the influentials within this NGO or within faculty. So, for instance, in a faculty, it's the dean, you have the assistant dean, you have the lecturers. At class level, you have either a class president or a class representative. So you segment like that so that you are able to get a picture. Then after you do that, understand engagement impact. The exercise highlights how stakeholder engagement affects data quality and ownership. So you know that the people that have information at the top, how best can you get that information from the top? Sometimes when you go to certain people in certain positions, they'll tell you, no, this information, you go to that one will give you. When the person that you want to talk to is the executive director, because there's information that he has that you need. So you need to also think through to say, how well can you collaborate with these people? How well can you work within a community which has closed doors and they feel like for you going in that community, you will not have access to the information? What do you need to do? So you need to make sure that you map out and come up with a strategy and plan of how you can engage them. After you do that now, you need to go and have, after you've had the conversation with them and you've collected your data, you need to do a needs prioritization matrix. So you rank the community needs by agency, feasibility, and impact to develop prioritization skills, and you rank them based on the agency and what impact are they going to have? So when you get the needs, for instance, so you go to the School of Engineering, let's say, for instance, and you have picked on maybe fourth-year students, and the fourth-year students are telling you, look, the problem we have is that the laboratory that is supposed to be used all the time, the things are not functioning, they're not working well. What is the listing? You do a listing of those things that need to be fixed, but which ones are priority that can help, and which are the things that can wait? Which ones are urgent that can help that student to graduate and be a very good engineer? So your feasibility there is looking at what can work to make sure that even as this person, when this need is addressed and this project is well funded, it will make an impact, so you need to think like that. So visualizing priorities means that within your table, you begin to think of which ones comes first, which ones come second, which ones can wait. Remember, we talked about the farmers, and we said right now they are already harvesting crop. And if we don't store that crop well, if we start focusing on building the road, it means that the food stuff that has been harvested will start going bad. So we know that we need to make sure we work on the food shelters now. So you'll be able to visualize and say the food shelters are a priority. For the graduating students, you know that they need to have access to be able to fix the generators or the simulator as well, so that even when they go and work at a power plant, they can be able to fix the generators at a power plant. So you'll be able to make strategic decision because you know and you have the information with you. The data collection. So how do you do data collection for a simulation project that you have done? So number one is that you can take on the role of the interviewer. You are the person who is owning this project. So you go and find out from the lecturers to say, what challenges are you having even as you are teaching these students in this lab? And they'll tell you, every time we try this, it's not working. When it breaks down, we have to go and report the procurement process takes long. You are taking notes. So you are doing a simulation at that particular point. But what are you doing? You're collecting data. Remember the one-to-one conversations, that is your qualitative data. If you decide to make a questionnaire to say what are people saying about how they find the accessibility to the lab, how they're using the equipment, you're collecting the numbers. So you say so many people actually can confirm that they're having challenges with using these products. And you getting this data set will give you an opportunity to go and have a more valid reason even as you present your information. And then what is your take-home assignment? So please, I know Success, you do have a group where all the participants and students are, right?
Yes, Tiwonge.
Success, are you? Pardon?
Yes, they have a group.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give you a homework. I'm going to give you an assessment that you can do. And it will be good at some point, Success, if I can get some feedback from this. And this is what I want you to do as a team. So you can pair up in groups of 2. If you're in the same city, if you're not, you can see who you can work with within your location. Identify within your location an NGO or community-based organization. If you can't find any of these 2, if you're still a student, you can't go out, identify a faculty. That can be your case. So that would be your case study. So this case study, you are going to do the following. So you're going to identify the interventions. What needs are you going to identify? By doing what methods are you going to use to collect your data? What challenges are faced within this NGO or with this faculty? And then what interventions were prioritized. So remember, you need to first look at what are their needs, what are their challenges, you list them, and then now you look at what interventions need to take place for those to be prioritized. You see? So when you do that, you'll be able now to discuss how the needs assessment outcomes can affect for future decision making. So beyond you leaving that, probably that faculty or leaving that community, when you do that and you present that information to, let's say, a dean of school, and maybe you present that needs assessment to the NGO, and you are able to get permission, but most likely, please do get permission, be with an organization that you can easily access, and you can have information readily. And remember, what you are telling them is that, look, we want to identify the needs so that we see how best you're making an impact, and we can give you feedback. So what we are doing is that we are going to be able to bridge the theory from the practice. From what we have looked at about planning, about data collecting, about having conversations with the stakeholders, and about producing reports that will help us. And then, of course, lastly, I always say beyond academics is our ability to still be able to help. So make sure when you're collecting data, and I put this as a very last slide, I'll close off with this. Ethical considerations are very critical. When we are collecting data, any form of work that you are doing that is going to help make you document, because all these, even the projects that you do, you are documenting. confidentiality and culture sensitivity are very critical. You know, so the approach that you use, remember, is the social cultural context. And I keep emphasizing this because I've seen young people that are zealous, that want to do some of these things. They make mistakes because they were too overzealous and they forgot that this information is critical and this information is sensitive. So make sure that you work within the parameters of the place where you are operating from. You know, what are the policies that are governing that particular organization? If you're collecting from a community-based organization, what information do they want out? What pictures should you not take that you should put on your social platforms? What should you not put in your report? You know, what you need to safeguard this information, you know. Then, of course, reflecting on integrity, also exercise highlights of maintaining integrity and respecting community norms during your assessments. I will end with that. Success, over to you. I hope that was helpful. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tiwonge. Please use the chat to let Tiwonge know what your reflections are from today's session. And if you have any questions, we'll be asking right away. Ahmed is saying, thank you so much. This is really impactful. Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you
very
Maybe
much.
Thank you. Maybe if anyone can even just share, like, what was their learning point? Success, if that's okay, people can also type their learning points in the chat.
I see Precious say, I learned the difference between community and organization needs. Also, Ginika is saying, I learned to understand community needs and avoid duplication. I think those were their learning points, or these are their learning points. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you, Success. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Please let us know if you have any questions at all. You can always reach to Tiwonge with any questions, or if you want her to guide you as you build your needs assessment for your own plan. Okay, seems like everyone really got a lot from the session and we've not had any questions so far. Tiwonge, how would you want them to get back to you with the group exercise?
Okay, so you can do it within a period of at least 2 weeks. That's 14 days. They can compile the data, then they can send them to you, and then you can email them to me, and then I can give feedbacks. So even just, you know, sometimes people think needs assessment is done at a faculty level. Some of you who are within your campus, within your community, you can take that approach where you are, you know, just come up with an initiative to say, what can I see from this space? Who are my stakeholders here? Who can I interview? Who can I have conversations with? So that you just see how we can use some of these this knowledge come to life. So they can take at least the next 14 days, and then I can get some feedback from you. Then I can take about a week to give you feedback so that they can have some feedback from me as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We have a question in the Q&A. I think we can take that and call it a day. Says, thank you so much. This was so insightful. What other factors would affect your prioritization of needs after performing the needs assessment? When presenting it, should the factors be highlighted?
Okay, so sometimes there is what is known as the researcher's biases, or you as the person who's collecting the data. When you are going into an area, remember, you've already seen something for you to go and say, there's something here that needs to be addressed. So we always say that when it comes to objectivity, you always have to listen to the stakeholders. And then also, that's one. So there's what we say, the researcher's biases, which is you yourself going with your own personal biases, because probably your background and how you've probably always viewed this aspect. So you always have to tell yourself, how can I be best objective? Use data-driven information, read more about the topic that you're looking at, what have other people said, and what can be done better. Then the other one is stakeholders also. I forgot to mention that. When you sit with stakeholders, there are certain stakeholders who just talk and talk and talk. They never stop. So you always have the loudest stakeholders who think their needs are more important than others. Be very attentive to those that are very silent talkers. Be very attentive, because the silent talkers will tell you what the loudest people don't see and what they don't experience. So you might even think the people that were speaking the loudest, those are the needs that actually need attention now. But you'll find that the ones that were very salient and are on the ground will tell you the needs that are actually the needs that need to be addressed immediately to help them come out of a certain situation. So those are the two things that I always tell people: your own biasness, and also you have the stakeholders. Be very mindful of how you're engaging them, and those that are a bit more louder than the others. Yeah.
Excellent.
I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tiwonge. I see a comment from Michael, but then we have another question. Let's just quickly take that one too. It says, in stakeholder engagement, I want to believe these are people of business orientation. How do a startup person or organization get them to work with you, building on the fact that it should be collaborative?
So when you're a startup, one thing I'll tell you is that you need three things. You need resilience, you need to show optimism, and you need to show commitment. You need to be, and I think I'll add the fourth one, availability. So resilience, you need to show optimism that yes, you really want to do this. You need to show commitment, and you need to be available. Because when you're collaborating with people, remember, they're coming from a certain background. They're probably already well established and you're just starting out. So the moment that they ask you to say, Michael, are you available? No, I think maybe next week. I'm not available. No, Precious, are you able to do this? Maybe I can find some time. But the moment you just say, yes, I'm available, I can do this, people will see that Buko is willing. Ahmed is now jacked up and Ahmed is on the move. He wants to learn fast. So as a startup, always have a mindset of being able to avail yourself and your time. When you avail your time and when you're committed to something, people will trust you. People will know that you're dependable. People can easily use you as a fallback because you are always there. So you need to be very consistent in what you're doing to get the best results.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tiwonge. And a follow-up question is saying, is it a must to have stakeholders that share the same niche as you? Because they be in the same niche?
No. It's even better when you have a mix. Imagine if you have 10 stakeholders like me and the way I talk. Honestly, you can only imagine how it is. You'll be amazed to know that my business partners actually do not talk as much as I do. But when they speak, I listen, you know. So sometimes you need stakeholders who are of different caliber, different levels. My business partner is a more commercial business person. I am more on the academic side. I'm more on the HR side, you know. So you need a blend so that even as you collaborate, you are able to share ideas and you're able to look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes if all of you are coming from one space, you will not look at the bigger picture. You will not be able to expand your viewpoint from just what you can see, what they say, look beyond your nose. So it's always good that you just have different people from different backgrounds.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tiwonge. We don't have any more questions so far, and we've gone over by 6 minutes. So I really appreciate
Sorry for that.
you for. No, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking time to answer the questions. I see one question here, but I think I'll just link this person with you so that you can answer this question maybe via email. Thank you very much, Tiwonge. Thank you everyone for your patience and being here up to this time, asking questions, engaging in the chat. Very much appreciated. The next session, like I mentioned earlier at the start of the call, would be next week, and we have it on Monday, and then following up with another session on Friday. In the meantime, if you have any last words for Tiwonge, put it in the chat. Tiwonge, I'll be handing it over to you to give last word for the participants before you call it a day.
Okay. So allow me to thank you all for your participation, and I like that you were part of the class. And I'll end with this, that at the end of the day, in everything that we do, we need to be people that are diligent. I always say, without diligence, even when you go and ask for this information, even when you go and try to identify, even when you identify a need, if you're not diligent, it becomes very difficult for you to work towards achieving what you have set out. So all the best, and I wish you well, and thank you so much for the opportunity and for giving me this platform to the WMI team. Thank you so much. Success.
Thank you very much, Tiwonge. All right, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.